So we hear it nearly every day from the Irish media when you have a different opinion on anything that's considered pro-life or anything. You're considered far-right extremist, you name it. Everything under the sun. Just to label you, not to argue your points or anything, just to label you, because it's all about labels nowadays. It's not about arguing the point. It's about not addressing the issue. It's about subverting the issue to talk, like, just to label people, just to try and get people to shut up and be quiet. And that's not a good thing for democracy, because we're not having arguments about the topic. We're too busy labelling people this, that, and the other. But anyway, on to the topic at hand. And that's to do with, and this is the thing you hear with the Irish media, a lot of people becoming extremists nowadays and don't trust their governments and stuff. Oh my God, nobody trusts their own governments. What a shocker. But this is the reality, and again, the media will never talk about it. The reason why people don't trust their own governments is they have no reason to trust them. Particularly in Ireland, the politicians, the people in the top here in Ireland, couldn't give a damn, couldn't give a fuck about anything to be told. Excuse my language, but that's just saying it straight out. And why would the Irish people trust these companies? Let's put it that way, because every time they have an option to do something good for the Irish people, to turn their backs on the country and to support the country, nearly, I would say this, and nearly commit treason in my opinion too. In selling out the country, the European Union, Brussels, you name it, Davos, the World Economic Forum, they do everything humanly possible to sell the country out, sell us down the welfare, sell their own mother down the welfare. They got away with all for a few shekels. That's really pretty much their idea of politics and stuff. Just the money talks. That's pretty much it. But the reason why I nearly would include myself in becoming more extremist, I suppose, in a way, because in society nowadays, let's be fair, we see just an anti-Irish bias by our own government. This is not by a foreign entity or foreign government. It's by our own government that's portraying anti-Irish rhetoric on us. And wanting to introduce hate speech, say, for example, to shut you up if you have a different opinion. And we see this across society, and I really have to say a lot of people have become extremists because people are being pretty much suppressed. The Gaudi and the state are out to suppress you. Really, it's pretty much very certain that the Irish state is out to suppress people and to shut people up as much as humanly possible now. And we see this in society. We see with the hate speech bill, for example, they want to introduce other bills where they can come and seize your property just because they want to. The compulsory purchase bill. We see when that goes into the Oireachtas eventually. We see what happens. But this is what they want to do, and we see in the European Union too what they're trying to implement too in other legislation. We see already the Gaudi too are what to monitor your WhatsApp groups, your Facebook groups, whatever groups you're in. The Gaudi want to be 1984 and look into what you're doing, what you're saying if you're committing thought crime. Instead of fighting real crime, they're too busy fighting about thought crime. But this is the thing in society nowadays. People becoming more radicalised because the government itself is the most radical people. And let's be fair, the people who are calling the people radical are the people that's the radical people. Because let's be fair, the Irish government are very radical. Like even in the 1930s, even the 1920s in Ireland here, with the Irish Free State, it was very uncertain. Obviously, the things were unstable because the country was only new. And not even that during the war, except the Emergency Powers in place, and not to mention the Emergency Powers Act, as I just said, that there was pretty much a bit of suppression of free speech, but that was because of the war, etc., neutrality, in terms of not reporting pro, like take for example one pro side of the war, take for example, and that's because of neutrality. But what I'm trying to say is, in the modern world now, in 2025, in the last few years, we see an unprecedented attack on free speech. We see an unprecedented attack on the Irish Constitution to override the Constitution. We see with wanting to take women out of the Constitution and have, sending the Christmas cards as in Job, a relationship and stuff like that. Like degrading marriage, degrading everything to do with our Catholic history, our beliefs as Irish citizens, as Western culture. They want to we write all that, and and that's, to be totally honest, that's the most radical thing. Like wanting to change thousands of years of Irish history, a whole traditions, a whole foundation. They want to rewrite that and to a wishy washy. I don't know what you would call it, but wishy washy stuff. That everything was inclusive and all this kind of carry on, and that's all well and good. But history is history. You can't change. You can change what's coming up, of course, but you can't change the past. But that you just have to get on with it. The past was the past, and that's it. There's no way in changing the past. You can try and make it up as much as you, but history is waiting, and that's already been decided. But what I'm trying to say is people become more radicalised because the government itself is more radicalised. And it's a sad thing to say, because the country's interior people, the only citizens of the country, should be able to trust their own governments. But, the majority of people don't trust them because they don't have the interest. In Ireland's case, the Irish government doesn't have the interest the Irish people. We see with mass migration at the moment. They're shoving still people into the country, even though people in every part of the country is uproaring about iPass settlers, etc. And the amount of money being spent and given to people that are making hundreds of millions a year. There's one fellow in Monaghan, he's made a fucking fortune, excuse my language, he's made a fortune from housing direct provision. And the government will just give him tax-free, here's hundreds of millions a year of the Irish taxpayers' money. It doesn't make any sense, and then obviously we see Irish people are left on the ground, and people that we don't even know get houses, etc., etc. It doesn't make any sense. That might be considered far right extremists to some people, but so be it. But as I say, that's just the truth. Why would you bring in people that you don't even know? Would you not rather look after the people who are here and not worry about other people who are coming, and worry about the people who are here first, and then maybe worry about that after that when you get all that sorted? But everything is backwards in this country. But the reason why, as I say, it's just the government is becoming more radicalised. And we see the media too. The media are more radicalised because they're trying to suppress, pretty much any sentiment of Irish sovereignty and stuff. That's pretty much what they hate. They hate everything Irish, pretty much. They don't want the backwards looking at your sovereignty. Let's put it that way. As Micheál Martin famously said, which is just the icing on the cake pretty much to everything that's happening. But again, that's just my view on it, because I do deem the government as radical. Like, regardless of what you say, the government is radical. What they're trying to implement is extremely radical. Even as I say, with the hate speech bill that they're desperately trying to push as much as they can. Never, as I say, the only time in Irish history that was ever really the case in the Irish state, our state, before, well, obviously the British were here, but it's the most radical thing apart from the Second World War, that legislation. Because the Irish Constitution pretty much says it very, very clearly. The only person who can take that right away from you is Almighty God. And that's the only person. And I think that's the person we should be listen to more, I suppose, than our Taoiseach and our Taoiseach. Because he's the judge, jury and executioner. No man is the judge, jury and executioner. But anyway, let me know what you think. Subscribe for more and bye.